Hi everyone. So today we are going to cover the theory of business cycles. Now this is a small topic which has about 7-8 questions which have come in UGC net. And the questions are very simple. They only talk about which theory has what, not really the whole theory, but which elements are in which theory. So we'll just do it. We'll just try to understand the gist of the theory and move on. We'll cover 6, 7 theories based on what has come in UGC net. All right. So this is the theories of business cycle. What are business cycles? They are cycles of economic activity of boom and bust. So you sometimes have a recession, sometimes you have an expansion, and those are called business cycles, rising and falling of GDP. Right? First is expansion, then there's a peak, then there's contraction, and there's a trough, which is the lowest point. That's called the boom and the bust cycle. So why do these cycles occur? Why don't we have like a stable income growth? Why does income growth happen in cycles? So that's the concept that the theories of trade cycles or business cycles is trying to explain to us. So the first theory that we'll do is Hartree's theory. Now, so Hartree's theory is basically a monetary theory which tries to explain this boom and bust cycles in terms of how is money supply and interest rates behaving in the economy. So he says that the initiation it starts with reducing of the bank rates. This increases cash reserves of commercial banks, and the banks can lower the bank rate, or it can undertake open market purchases. The whole point is to increase the availability of money with the people. So when rate of interest is low, of course, central banks would increase their lendings. Because of low interest rate, traders would also now. So this whole theory is also based on inventories, that traders would be incentivized to borrow and manufacture more. This increase in production will lead to higher employment and rising income. This increase in income will lead to higher effective demand. This will then increase prices also. And this process will continue, this expansion will continue as long as banks are willing to expand credit. All right. Then what's the twist? When does the twist happen? The twist happens, as is clear, this is a monetary theory. So when credit growth stops, as the central bank lends money, their resources started depleting. And to protect inflation, banks then increase the bank rate, and then the entire cycle reverses. What happened? What led to the uptake first? Now leads to the downtake. And then the downtake also, because of the downtake, there will be no credit uptake. Banks are then be willing to lend, but there will be no takers. So then the rate of interest would have risen by a lot. So then the banks then would eventually reverse their policy of increasing the interest rate, and then again they would lower the interest rate, and the cycle will continue. So this theory is based on. So this is a summary of the theory. When first interest rate falls, credit expansion, inventories rise, demand rises. Then interest rate rises, credit falls, inventories they start accumulating. Demand falls, leads to unemployment, and interest rate hits the floor, which is the lower end, and then again it starts rising later on. Basically, what we have to remember is that Hartree's theory is a theory of monetary policy, that how it is the interest rates which are determining these boom and the bust cycles. As interest rate falls, there's a boom cycle. As interest rate rises, there's a bust cycle. Then is Schumpeter's theory. So Schumpeter's theory of creative destruction, we've all done this in our college. So Schumpeter says this is that this boom and bust cycle is part of capitalism. It's part of the very nature of capitalism. So he said that imagine right now the economy is static. Then what happens is there will be an innovation, a destruction, a creative destruction, a new way of doing things which will disrupt the current way of doing things. It could be a new idea or a technology or a new way of doing things, a new good, a new method of production or something. The entrepreneur does this. He takes massive risk and invests in the lure of higher profits. And that's how this starts. And the banks again have to play a role, because for the entrepreneur to innovate, the banks have to lend money to the entrepreneur. Otherwise, he doesn't have money to innovate. So he says that this creative destruction, this creation of this new method leads to the boom cycle. When does this boom cycle stop? So how does it stop? It says that once, so there's an innovation, everybody starts copying this innovator, everybody starts increasing production capacity, the old things are replaced, and then what happens is that everybody starts doing the same thing, and then those profits start declining. Then the innovation which was new and exciting is no longer new and exciting. So new investments are not made based on that one particular innovation, and that is when investment started slowing down, and that is when the whole recession sets in. That investment slows down, so demand slows down, employment slows down, and so on. And this will happen till again a new innovation takes place. So Schumpeter's emphasis was on business cycles. That he said that there are different kinds of cycles: kitchen cycles, which are short cycles driven by small innovations; juggler cycles driven by significant innovations in specific industries; Conradi waves, which are fundamental technological revolutions like the industrial revolution, the information technology revolution, and so on. There's also the Kuznets cycle, which is in an infrastructure building cycle, which also lasts 15 to 25 years. So this was whole Schumpeter's theory. Next is Keynes's theory. So Keynes' theory is something that we're all very aware of, that Keynes' theory is the theory of government spending and investment spending. So Keynes, the bits of Keynes' theory that is applicable here is that this is the aggregate demand equation. There's investment, which depends on the marginal efficiency of capital, and also animal spirits, just expectations, rate of interest. Keynes also talked about wage stickiness, that even in a recession, prices and wages don't really go, wages especially don't really go down because people don't want to work for lower wages, and there's the multiplier effect, right? So Keynes' theory also starts with increase in investment or increase in it, and the trigger could be increase in investment. It could also be a favorable government policy. So government could also be the trigger. This leads to increase in investments, marginal efficiency of capital increases through the multiplier effect. The economy goes up, income goes up, employment goes up. And again, as the booms mature, demand saturates, employment saturates, and then things start coming down. All right, it goes down and then it again comes up. So in short, if you want to do, the upswing is because of optimism. High marginal efficiency of capital leads to increased investment. Multiplier effect leads to increase in Y, C, and E, and reinforces optimism. Pessimism, if there's low MEC, again, got to do with interest rates, got to do with government policies, then the reverse multiplier effect. So Keynes said because of this investment typically being moving like this. So Keynes's policy prescription was that government should take an active role when economy is up. The government should try to taper it. When the economy is down, the government should try to push it. That was Keynes's policy prescription. The next is the Samuelson multiplier accelerator model. So his model was a very significant model because it combined Keynesian multiplier effect with the Harrod-Domar accelerator model. And he said that these two together can combine to have business cycles. So the multiplier effect is when, because of an increase in expenditure, income goes up. But the accelerator model is that an increase in consumption or income has to lead to more investment again. So because of an increase in if investment increase in income, income also increases in investment. So it's a feedback mechanism. So he said because of this feedback mechanism, they reinforce each other, and there's a possibility of these boom and the bust cycles. So he found an equation which, let's say, looks like this, where income, because of consumption and investment, actually depends on the income of the previous periods with certain, and C and V. C is the marginal propensity to consume, and V is the accelerator component, how consumption and income affect investment. So how these two actually are important in determining how this business cycle is to look like. So let's see here. So these are different phases. So actually, Samuelson said that if C and V, which is MPC and MPV, they lie in the region of A, then there'll be a different kind of business cycle. If MPC and V lie in the region B, Samuelson said that if the value of C and the value of V together fall in region A or region B, region C, region D, or line E. So depending on the values of B, of C plus V lying in certain regions, you can actually predict how the cycle is going to look like. So what was his prediction? If they lie in region A, if C and V and lie in region A, which is here, then it's going to be a very straight increase in output. There's not going to be a lot of multiplier and boom and bust cycles. But if it lies in region B, this large region, then he said that these cycles are actually going to be dampening cycles, meaning that they will start with big oscillations and then they will taper down. Then he said that if you look at region C, which is very high values of C and V, you'll have explosive cycles. So the business oscillations will actually go up. Then he said if C and V lie in region D, then you are going to have so in region D, then you're going to have this upward sloping increasing output, constantly increasing output. But if by a special case, if C plus V actually equal to 1, okay, if C plus V actually equal to 1, then we get a very special result, and that result is constant cycles. Okay, so his whole theory was very successful in demonstrating constant oscillatory cycles based on the values of C and V. So it was a very good mathematical construct. So that is why his theory was very important. The drawback of his theory was he didn't really explain why these bumps and the floors and the ceilings came. So Hicks actually added to his multiplier accelerator model, and he introduced ceiling and floors. And he said actually why the ceiling and the flooring comes is because the ceiling is full employment. Once this economy is going up, then it hits full employment. It can't really increase further than that, so it has to come down. And the floor is minimum investments. So investment is falling, but there's a minimum level of investment which will happen. So that's the floor. So he gave reasons of why ceilings and floors exist. Okay, and he also kind of gave this path that the cycles actually happen along a long run trend line, and so he showed that EE line shows a growth rate of G. Upswing happens in this case, then the ceiling happens, and then the downswing comes, and so on. Okay, so he basically talked about why there's a ceiling and a flooring, which was his contribution to the existing knowledge. And the last that we are doing is Hayek's overinvestment theory of trade cycles. So his core premise is there is a discrepancy between actual and desired investment, and the reason is credit expansion and monetary policy. So it is similar to the first one that we did, that monetary policy is the reason. So he also talks about that. And he said when the central banks actually increase money supply too much and they offer interest rates lower than the natural rate, it causes excessive investment in capital goods. So not just inventories, but capital goods. And firms overinvest in long-term projects beyond sustainable levels. And then, so like the housing boom that happened. And then this boom is unsustainable because it's not really backed by real demand or savings. And this is when the bust cycle starts, right? So this was Hayek's theory. So after having done these theories, let's now look at all the questions that have come on UGC Net for this topic. All right, so this is the theory. This is the theory of business cycle, the questions on theories of business cycles. Let's go over them one after one. For particular high values of MPC, the accelerator coefficient, explosive, non-oscillatory, explosive. So these are the explosive cycles. These are not constrained cycles, will occur in the business model of Samuelson. There are 4 phases. Identify the correct sequence. So there's recovery, then expansion, and then recession, and then depression. So that is D. Which of the following models generates constraint cycles? So that was the Hicksian contribution. So the answer would be actually B and for this. Okay, whose model of the following economists makes use of the stock adjustment principle to explain business cycles? So actually that is Calder, who actually says that if you look at investment is not just a function of income, it is also a function of the existing capital stock. So if the existing capital stock is high, if K is high and it is close to the desired level, so even if the income is rising, then actually investment will not rise because capital stock is already very high. So adjustment to capital stock is also a big part of Calder's business cycles. So 3A is the right answer. Let's look at the next question. So match the following. So in this recession is low profits, boom should be highest profits, recovery should be positive profits, and depression should be negative profits. So A1, B3, B should be the right answer. Let's move on to the next question. In the adjoining standard diagram to explain Hicks trade cycle theory, which of the following are true when the actual value of MPC and accelerator fall in the region C? So C is the region of oscillating, this is the region of explosive oscillation. So B is the right answer. Okay, so B is the right answer. Next one. The theory in which trade cycle is generated due to excess of actual over desired investment is the Hayek theory, which is B. And the last question, arrange the following cycles in ascending order. So we'll start with it would be the kitchen cycle. So B would be the first one, then the juggler, then Kuznets, and the Kondrativ. So B should be the right answer for this. All right, so that concludes business cycles. Thank you so much.